What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Rassslin on webchannel24.com for the YouTubes. We are reviewing today, or talking about today, WWE Survivor Series 2020. Yes, we are almost near the end of this very terrible year of CV and its effect on our favorite, beloved genre of sports entertainment and pro wrestling. Only one more pay-per-view after this for WWE. This is the last pay-per-view, however, Survivor Series from the Thunderdome as it currently is. They'll be moving to Stadium after this. But before we get into all of that stuff, this being the internet, this being YouTube's, Facebook, wherever you're watching this, of course, appreciate the support of you guys hitting the like button, the subscribe button, and following me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you follow pro wrestling, and sharing these videos out there. It does help, of course, with the like buttons for the algorithms and all of that stuff that YouTube needs and Facebook needs to track these things and see whether or not I'm relevant to wrestling fans again. Be nice if they would show me to all the people I used to have, but whatever. But that aside, I do appreciate you guys checking this out. And of course, if you want to keep track of me off of YouTube in case things go wrong again, you can always follow me on my subscription service, my mailing list. Of course, just hit the link down there below and you'll be able to subscribe to my mailing list. I will be having a lot more stuff coming out. Of course, you guys always get first come, first serve for the new podcasts when they go up every single week. Back now to Survivor Series. So this show was, it was a mixed bag. It was like half of it, you could probably flush it down the toilet. The other half actually was pretty daggone decent. So let's talk about the stuff that I really didn't dig. I didn't dig the men's match. I did not dig at all. First off, even before that, the Battle Royal was kind of lame. Just not so much because of what happened, but because of kind of the ramifications of what didn't happen and later in the show that I expected. But The Miz wound up winning the pre-show Battle Royal, throwing out Dominic. They did the whole, he didn't really get eliminated. Dominic cleared the field, cleared out Shorty G, and now I can't stop saying Shorty G. Cleared out Chad Gable and thought he had won, and then of course The Miz sneaks back in because he was never eliminated and throws Dominic out, and he's now the winner, yada yada yada. So you know, this is the same Battle Royal you've seen like 1,000 times throughout history, but if this led to something else later in the show, it would have been cool, but it really didn't. So I gotta give that a thumbs down. The men's elimination match, a lot of, yeah, I mean, there was some action there, but it just, and really, SmackDown gets swept by Raw. SmackDown got swept by Raw. I think this is just kind of an ego thing with McMahon. I guess he always has to have Raw beating SmackDown all the time. I don't know what's going on with that. SmackDown clearly has been, according to the WWE fans that you see online, you see a lot more favorable discussions about SmackDown than you see Monday Night Raw. People seem to like that show better, but every single year it's like SmackDown is like Raw's little bitch. Just get smacked around like this. But yeah, the Raw team, AJ and Braun Strowman and Matt Riddle and Keith Lee, and you know, it's a nice showing of talent. But the real story behind this, however, is that Jey Uso was given orders by the head of the table, the big dog, the WWE Universal Champion Roman Reigns, that he better get his team a win. And apparently that did not happen. Jey was the last remaining survivor of his team, but he did fall, and afterwards we see that Jey's going back to Roman, and Roman's just like, you know what, just get out of here, man. You didn't win. You didn't win because you can't control your team. You can't control your team because they don't fear you. They don't fear you because, you know, and he just went through this whole thing that it all tied back to Roman, and if they don't respect him, and they don't fear Jey, they don't respect and fear Roman, and they don't respect and fear the family, and then he just get out of here. Heyman, amazingly enough, they just so great at verbal. For Heyman, really doesn't have to say anything. Like, Roman has got this character locked down. Again, this is the Roman Reigns that we wanted to see for the last 6 or 7 years. and now we're finally getting it. And as I had said, and I think a lot of us who had seen Roman in other interviews outside of WWE before, we're like, that guy does have something, but they're feeding him garbage, and he's not being. Now he's got good stuff. And Roman as the tribal chief, this kind of brash, just mean, nasty kind of Godfather kind of mafioso kind of thing. He's like the Don, of the Usos, and it works. It's really, really good. I really, really do enjoy Roman's work with Jey Uso over the past couple of weeks. It's one of the few things that I actually do get to check out about WWE, and it's one of the few things that I've really, really enjoyed watching from them this year. So hats off to them. I never thought I would say I never thought 3 years ago I would be sitting here saying that one of the most enjoyable things on WWE's show right now is Roman Reigns. But it just goes to show when people wake up and realize what they have and then do the right thing, and it actually winds up working. Now, something that did wind up working that I didn't think was actually going to work, on the positive side, is the women's multi-man tag elimination match. Now, this one, I felt that the storyline with Lana, it was going to take centerpiece in this whole match, and it did, even though they kind of shuffled her to the side. So Nia Jax and mainly Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler have been kind of bullying Lana. And I haven't watched the show, so I didn't know. Like 9 or 10 weeks in a row, Nia Jax has been putting Lana through tables over and over again. Saying, that'll show you for letting your husband go over to that AEW. Of course, they're playing off of that too. They're playing off of that. But Lana's just getting brutalized every single week. And because, she's not respected by the other women, she wasn't respected by the other women on her team. They were taking on Team SmackDown. That a late entry Bayley was added to the team and decided to make herself captain. And she was captain. Bianca Belair was on the team. Some of the members of the Riot Squad, which they made mention that the Riot Squad has been around for 3 years. There are incarnations of the Four Horsemen that are way more memorable than anything that the Riot Squad has done to be a faction that's been together for 3 years, and they've really not done. And I asked people on Twitter, I was like, "Has the Riot Squad actually done anything that anybody can remember?" And most people said not really. They fought against each other one time, and that was fine. I don't know. I didn't see any of this stuff, but man, 3 years of the Riot Squad, and oh wow. On the positive note, though, everybody in this match knew their role. Everybody did their part very, very well, and the eliminations made sense. Shayna Baszler fighting against Bianca Belair. They gave Bianca Belair that kind of scrappy role, and she's going to fight up against the odds, which was really cool, and I love that with her character. But she was overwhelmed by Shayna Baszler, pretty much got choked out, but reached the ropes. This was a good part of storytelling here. Reached the ropes, but Shayna wouldn't let her go, and then got disqualified when the referee counted to 5, that there was no break. But she didn't know that. It was a little hard the way they did with the camera, but Shayna apparently was not supposed to know that Bianca had gotten to the rope, and that's why she held it on and then got disqualified. So after that had happened, Lana's still told to stand on the ring steps because they all told her just stay there, and shut up. Just stay there and shut up. Just stay there and shut up. So this is a bullying thing, which WWE is really good at knowing about bullying. So they're doing a bullying angle with Lana here. Bianca Belair tries to make a comeback. Nia Jax and her are battling outside the ring. Both of them get counted out, and Lana winds up being the sole survivor for her team and winning the women's elimination match. Which, here's the funny thing, right? I think it's really, really cool that that they did this storyline. I was expecting that maybe somehow Lana would have gotten Nia to go through a table as kind of a comeuppance. So then it's kind of like, well, what's the whole point of her putting it through you counting the number of times? And I also thought it was cool that Shayna Baszler got the choke out. She got disqualified with the choke because she wasn't aware of the ring rope and Lana getting the win. I would have liked to have seen Lana get a pin or something like that, but I think this is going to work for her character because they're not now all of a sudden going to make her superwoman. she's still going to have to work her way through. She's still not as talented as the other people on the roster, but she now can claim that she's won the Survivor Series match for her team, and that's I enjoyed that aspect of the story, so that was definitely a positive on this show. The tag team title match, too, that was another good one. The New Day have been doing some really good work. Them against the Street Profits. The Street Profits are like this with me. Sometimes I'm on high on them, sometimes I'm not. But this was a great tag team match, and again, it just, I think these guys are sitting there and they're watching, on Wednesday nights and going, you know what, we can have tag matches like that here. And now these guys are apparently given the largesse to go ahead and do that. So kudos to the Street Profits and the New Day for having an actually really decent tag team match on the show. Another great match that was on the show was Asuka taking on Sasha Banks, which for a while I thought was going to be the best match on the show. It turned out not quite to be. I think for some people it is. I love this match. These are two of my favorite women wrestlers. Of course, my bae, Asuka. Love of my life. Taking on another bae and Sasha Banks, and the two of them. This was a really good compare. There was one brutal looking, I guess they don't call it the code breaker anymore, but Asuka caught Sasha coming back in through the ropes and with a code breaker, and Sasha just crumpled up. I was like, wow, she crumpled up. They kicked each other in the face pretty hard sometimes. A lot of reversals on the attempts at the bank statement and the Asuka lock. It did come down to a pin attempt, which I do always like that every once in a while. I know some people get all pissed off about, I can't do roll-ups, so I need to do a roll-up. I know. It's wrestling. Roll-ups are if nobody ever got a pin from a roll-up, there'd never be any anticipation for it. You have to pin people every once in a while with some of these moves. Otherwise, you're just going to get conditioned to know that nobody's going to lose to one, so why pay attention? Anyway, Sasha Banks did win with a reversal here into kind of a modified box cradle and got the pin. Of course, no championships on the line here. It's just the Raw Women's Champion versus the SmackDown Women's Champion, in a rare occurrence of SmackDown coming out on top. Asuka looked a little disheveled. She wasn't quite, she didn't do a lot of the ranting Japanese thing that she usually does. It's like she was in competitive mode. But I think this is a nice little capper, because this feud has been going on, it's on and off the entire year. It's been kind of like Bayley and Sasha and Asuka has been kind of weaved in and out of it throughout the year. I don't think it hurts Asuka at all. I think Asuka's a made star right now. I think both of these women are made stars in the WWE. And congratulations. I still have not watched The Mandalorian, but I did hear that Sasha Banks was on The Mandalorian. So when I ever get around to watching it, I know I'll at least say there'd be some wrestling tie-in to it. So that's pretty cool. Congratulations to Sasha. In the main event, you did have... this was actually the match I was looking forward to the most of the show. And I think the first half of this match was ho-hum, and then the last half of this match was absolutely amazing. But Roman Reigns, the WWE Universal Champion, taking on Drew McIntyre, most recently regaining the WWE Championship from Randy Orton on this past Monday, in a shocker that they haven't changed apparently the WWE World Championship on TV in like 5 years. So a rare title change on TV for WWE. And Drew going in against Roman, when I heard about this match earlier in the week, I was like, oh, that could be actually pretty good. If it was Drew versus Roman Reigns from 5 years ago, absolutely not. But the new Drew McIntyre, the new Roman Reigns, those two literal Greek gods, or I guess Nordic gods in the case, or Scottish gods in the case of one, and Pacific Island gods. These are two gods. Anyway, two gods smashing up against each other in this really a well-wrestled WWE style match. And this was a WWE style match done well. However, it did run a little long, and that's why I say the first part of it I wasn't too wild about, but the second half of it was absolutely fantastic. I think Drew kicked out of like 85,000 spears. And you get the Claymore sometimes. Drew does a very good job, which is very hard for a guy his size, to gain sympathy from you when he's getting the beat down. And a lot of guys his size cannot do that. So that's something something about Drew McIntyre that he's able to pull that off. And Roman, like I said, Roman being this Roman Reigns is the best thing that has happened in this man's career ever since he left the Shield. That is, it's just what we've wanted to. It's what I thought he was going to be. What was that? 2014, 15, 16. Whenever he left the Shield, and they split the Shield up. I thought this was what we were going to see from Roman Reigns. He was going to be this kind of hard ass. But man, they've leaned into it, and it's so good. And it came through in this match. Even his character, even Roman wrestles differently, and he's always talking to himself now, and he's hyping himself up. Again, Heyman ain't really saying much. Heyman ain't really, because I think Heyman plays it off like he's a little scared of Roman sometimes, which I love that. I love that little wrinkle to it too. And Drew coming out now doing the whole kind of Braveheart thing. He's got his grandfather's giant sword, and he's got the kilt on, and and his muscles all perfect. And I'm just like, wow. Now we finally got now. See, this is one occasion in modern day wrestling where you look at a match and go, okay, these are men who are going to fight. These are men who are going to fight a manly match, and that is what we got here. And there wasn't going to be a lot of pretty stuff in this one. This was two men going at just going to scrap. That was it. So I really, really enjoyed that. In the sports entertainment land, we don't get to see that much. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it. The match came down to is kind of a screwy finish. Jey Uso getting involved, everybody coming down and doing all their stuff. Roman's been working a guillotine over the last few months. Apparently, I've missed this. Again, I don't watch the weekly shows, but Roman's working a guillotine. He got the guillotine after all this interference, or the guillotine after all the interference. Jeez, guillotine. What is that, like Gilligan's Island? I don't know. Anyway, got the Drew passes out. The referee calls the match, and for supremacy. The Blue Universal Champion, Roman Reigns, who is the big dog, the head of the table, the guy that shows up, wrecks things, and leaves. Whatever cliche you want to throw at my man Roman these days, I don't care. I'm digging this new character. Good stuff here. This match was pretty daggone good. I enjoyed it, except for the first little part, but I enjoyed the rest of the match. The finish made sense, protected Drew. Now, I was expecting Miz to come out and cash in, which is where it goes back to that Battle Royal, which I'm like, well, what's going on here? So it was a perfect opportunity. Now, I have heard, and I actually had to look this up, it is true that the date of Survivor Series this year was 10 years to the day that the Miz cashed in on Randy Orton, and Miz Girl, remember that the whole thing, Miz Face Girl, whatever? It would have been a perfect time to do it, but that wasn't the anniversary we were thinking about, the 10-year anniversary of Miz cashing in Money in the Bank. We were thinking about the 30-year anniversary of The Undertaker. We got pretty much everybody, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Godfather, the Godwins, for God's sakes. They found them out there, Booker T, JBL, Shane McMahon, a whole bunch of people who were somewhat significant either behind the scenes or in front of the camera to The Undertaker, and just a ring full of guys. And then Taker comes out. I think this was classy the way they did it, except for one thing that kind of bothered me is them piping in Undertaker, thank you, Taker, and him reacting to it as if it's actual people interrupting his speech, but they're not. This is scripted. This is piped. This is not organic. This is piped in music that they're piping in. Thank you, Taker. They're piping in all of these moments, and it just feels phony to some extent. I did not like that aspect of it. It just feels phony when they forced all that stuff in there, and he's got to act as if there is a crowd there. It took me out of it, and a lot of what goes on with Thunderdome with the piped in crowd noise and the video screens, all that stuff does take me out of all the lights and all that stuff. It takes me out of the moment sometimes. And that's the case here with this, is that them seeing The Undertaker pretending that there's a crowd there, that they're pretending that there's a crowd interrupting him, and this is the last hurrah of The Undertaker, all it did was make me go, man, I wish they waited to do this when they have crowds again. Can we do this? Wait, can we put this off until the Taker ain't going anywhere? Can we postpone it until we have a crowd? I wish he had a crowd for this. That bothered me. But outside of that, it was a classy. So you even got a tribute to Paul Bearer in there. So it was overall, except for that little part that kind of irks me, a classy send-off, which just makes it 2 this year. We got Liger's send-off, which seems like it was 80,000 years ago, and The Undertaker. 2 of the most iconic character wrestlers in their respective hemispheres, the respective sides of the world. They're in the same hemisphere. I don't know what's going on today, but yes, Undertaker and Jushin Liger, iconic characters, 30 years in the business. We've celebrated them since they've been these great iconic characters in the East and in the West. And both of them hanging it up this year it's been very classy, and it's been something that's, as a kid who grew up with both, seeing the 2 of them start and then seeing them go to where they got to and now becoming legends, it makes me, number 1, feel very old. Number 2, it is kind of like you feel like you've gone on this journey with these people, because I've seen The Undertaker and Jushin Liger from day 1, through most of their careers, so it's pretty cool. But I want to know what you guys thought about Survivor Series, The Undertaker, and the send-off. I am going to talk more about the Broken Skull Ranch that followed this, which was far more intriguing. I definitely want to talk about it because there's a lot of stuff that came up in that interview that Steve Austin had on the show. But again, as far as Survivor Series is concerned, what are your likes? What are your dislikes? Let me know in the comment box below. Until then, if you like this video, of course, again, hit the like button, and I will see you guys for more news, rumors, and reviews right here on Rassslin Rantin.